Welcome into the MLB Pick Show for August 27th. It is Thursday, and a lot of early games on today's slate. So just going to do a short show here because I know a lot of the MLB bettors out there likely got action on the early slate like I do. And if you follow me on Twitter, guys, at Drew Martin Bets, did tweet out the two plays for today that going on record with. And it's both in the Dodgers-Giants game, and actually the game one just went off. So for today's show, I'll kind of read off why, but it's just kind of hard to get in on it now. Maybe some in live, especially if you're on the East Coast in New Jersey, some of those sports books, MLB in game, they allow you to do. It's really not catered everywhere, but am on the Giants for game one. Really pretty simple. Just looking to fade Clayton Kershaw until further notice. I think he's overrated in the betting markets. Plus the fact the San Francisco Giants are very simply, I just think, underrated in the betting markets. And with the game kind of them taking off last night, it is a little bit tricky today, but my numbers show that there's just too much of a plus price on the Giants in both games. And it looks like top of the first, the Dodgers are already up 1-0. So if you missed out, it's not looking good, at least in the top of the gate. So might not have too much to worry with. But in the future, I'll try to tweet those out earlier. But those are the two games I'm going on record with. And break down the second game in a little bit more. And let me get to Clayton Kershaw. One of the reasons why I think the Giants offense will have success against him in game one is his worst game of the year was against the Giants. And, past performance isn't indicative of future results. But when a team sees a pitcher really well the first time, I look for him to see him well again the second time. And he did give up 7 hits, 4 earned runs in 4 innings with an 80% hard hit rate. So all that pretty much adding on to the Giants plus the price in game one. And another thing here, guys, I've had a success so far this season. I appreciate y'all reaching out and chiming in on that. And it's the best season I've had to date. And I've been doing this, as my straight job for 6 years now. And I've had positive, each of the last 2 years were positive unit wise. And I did have one year in MLB 4 years ago where I was up about 10 units. But other than that, I've been down in MLB in the other years, in the 6 years I've been kind of tracking. And one thing I've noticed where I've had success in the last 2 years, I kind of eked out units. I was up 1.5 units and 3.5 units consecutively in the last 2 years. But one of the things I found an advantage in sports betting is finding change and going from that point forward against the number you're creating, the number I'm creating against the odds maker's number. And that's where I found the most success. And that's why I think this season has gone so well. It's because there's so much change in the 2020 season, not just in our everyday lives, but in sports betting. And even with the card, with seven inning games, with the rules changes, the DH and the NL, all of that adding up to a lot of change. And I think it's really hard on the odds makers. So if you're putting in the work, it's paid off. And one of the reasons I like the Giants today, and granted, guys, it's plus 170 and plus 220. So they're both projected to lose the game. But in the long run, when you're getting these big plus prices, it can really pay off in the end. And I think that the market is mispricing these 7-inning games. It's very simple. In both of these matchups, the bullpen ratings are heavily advantaged to the Los Angeles Dodgers. I have the Dodgers as my number 1 ranked bullpen, and I'm betting against them in both games. Now, the San Francisco Giants are number 14. I do have them as a top half ranked bullpen, but still in a 9-inning game, I might not be on this game for these plus prices. In a 7-inning game, I think it diminishes the advantage that the LA Dodgers have, therefore making the bets on the San Francisco Giants more advantageous to the sports bettor. So I'll break it down kind of in more particular on game 2 here and why I like it. Kevin Gausman, a guy that was slated to play or start in the game that got postponed, and that's why I was so late getting the plays out. I mean, 20 minutes before first pitch, but still, Usually I try to get them out before that. In part of the reason is because I wanted to make sure Kevin Gausman was starting the game I was betting on, and Clayton Kershaw was starting on the game I was betting on, and each team did something different. They put Clayton Kershaw in game 1 for the Dodgers, and the Giants put Kevin Gausman in game 2 for the Giants. And so I just decided to bet both games because each pitcher had an advantage over the opposing lineup. And at the huge plus price here, and granted, guys, all the bets are action. So if the pitchers change, anything like that, you're still locked in, or I'm still locked in on the big plus price, which is also an advantage in 2020 for the sports bettor. Because if you're betting underdogs, like I like to do in MLB, you get locked in at the big plus price. And if the pitchers change and it goes against the odds makers, meaning it comes back more to even, you still have the big plus price in your pocket. So that's another advantage to 2020 that I try to use here. But specifically for this game too, Kevin Gausman versus the LA Dodgers, 6.1 innings, 1 earned run, 3 hits, 6 Ks, and no walks. So he had one of the best lines I've seen this year against this Dodgers lineup. And he's throwing hard this year. The velocity's up. So Kevin Gausman I have as a guy that circled on bet on. And again, it's only 7 innings. So if he goes 6, even if he goes 7, that'd be great. We don't have to give the bullpen advantage that does lie with the Dodgers a full bullpen advantage to the Dodgers. Plus the fact the LA Dodgers, their starting pitcher is still undecided right now. But it looks like, just from reading on their team blog writer here, he's projecting that it's going to be Mitch White, because Mitch White is the person they called up from the alternative unit. I guess I forget what the name is. For when Walker Buehler went down on the IL with blisters on his finger. And Mitch White is kind of a replacement level player, I'd say. He doesn't really have enough. He doesn't really have enough kind of stats here at the major league level. Just really a cup of coffee last year. And in his minor league numbers, in Double-A, he threw 105 innings with a 1.45 WHIP, which isn't that great. I mean, they're decent numbers. 114 hits in 105 innings. The minor league players were kind of hitting him pretty well in Double-A. He had 88 Ks, which isn't a lot. So I think this underrated San Francisco Giants lineup will get to him. And with Kevin Gausman on the hill in a shortened game here, plus 170 on the San Francisco Giants is the side in game 2, guys. So feel free to throw out anything in the chat box if you'd like. Pipes, welcome in, buddy. Rockies today. I would be on the Colorado side against the Arizona Diamondbacks. It didn't make the card, at least as of right now. But yeah, I think the Rockies are playing a lot better ball. So I have the Rockies is looking to be betting on more than fading. So good question there, man. And anybody else, feel free to chime in on the chat box. Sports Picks TV on YouTube. So looking to do this every day on the YouTube channel, Sports Picks TV. Please subscribe and feel free to throw out anything in the comments, and happy to answer them. 2 games I did want to throw out real quick that just missed the card: Boston versus Toronto, Mazza versus Ryu, which Ryu's found it, guys. 22 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 10 hits, 5 walks, 24 Ks in his last 22 innings. So whatever he's doing there, changing up the speeds, obviously a lot of movement on his pitches. I would be looking to bet on the Toronto Blue Jays. They've been good since kind of finding their home there at the AAA ballpark in Buffalo. It's just the price is a little too high for me at minus 190. Don't like to lay the run line with home teams, so couldn't get on them sidewise. And, Mazza going for Boston. The Red Sox are not a good team so far this year, guys. He's a former 27th round pick, not much in MLB either. Decent numbers. He was in the Marlins and Mets organizations, but his K rate isn't really that good in the minor leagues. So I don't think that bodes well in the major leagues, especially in a very hitters-friendly park there in Buffalo. So I don't know. I would look to be on the Toronto Blue Jays. And also I like the over. It's just Ryu. I could see him shutting down the Boston side. So that's what kept it off for me. And also Minnesota versus Detroit. Matthew Boyd versus Dobnak. Dobnak's been great this year. I mean, his ERA is only 1.78, But his more advanced metrics, his FIP, xFIP, a little bit higher, up over 4. And he also only faced the Kansas City, Milwaukee, and Pittsburgh lineups. Those are 3 of bottom 10 lineups in baseball. So he hasn't really faced the top lineups. And against the Detroit Tigers lineup, I think they could have some success against them. And Matthew Boyd, 8.4 ERA this year, but he also faced the Chicago White Sox 2 times year to date, and that lineup smashes lefties. So I think his numbers are a little bit worse than they really should be for the Oregon State Beavers product there in Matthew Boyd. Plus the fact bullpen advantage, both of them top 10 bullpens. So it leans me towards the under, but the wind's blowing out at 10 miles per hour. I'll likely be on the Twins versus the Tigers under 9.5, but it's not going to make the card for record-keeping purposes. It's just the Giants plus 170 and plus 220 in game 1 and game 2. And it looks like the Giants did get out of the top of the first with just giving up 1 run. So we're down 1-0 in game 1. Senor Pipes, what's up, man? Brett, how you doing? What do I think about Reds' first game? Sonny Gray versus Hauser. I like the Reds plus the price in that one. I did look at this one. I actually think both pitchers are actually going to have some success against the opposing lineups. So I do lean towards the under in this one. And keep in mind, it's only a 7-inning game, I believe. So both pitchers can go deep in comparison for this game. So I lean under, but I'm with you towards the Cincinnati Reds. If that's the way you were leaning at the plus price. Jay, Rockies, Giants, first half under 4.5. Well, I think the Giants are playing the Dodgers, so I don't fully understand your question, but I do think if you're talking about the Giants, I think Gosman's going to have success against the Dodgers lineup. And too much asking Toronto team total. Actually, that's a great look. I'm not too much of a team total guy, but I would look towards Toronto team total over, because that's the only thing keeping me off the full game over and the hitters friendly ballpark there in Buffalo is Ryu. And I do project him having success against the Boston Red Sox lineup. But if you can team total at your sports book, and that's something I need to personally get a little bit more into. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on the Toronto team total over. If that's the way you were looking. Oh, Jay asking about the Arizona game. Let me think here. Let me pull it up. Okay, Freeland versus Gallen. That's what I'm seeing here. It's not one that really caught my eye too much. I do think Colorado is a little bit underrated, so getting them at a plus price here is something I would look at. I don't have my numbers in front of me, so not sure how Arizona projects against Freeland. But off the top of my head, I would look towards Colorado at the plus price there, Jay. Thanks for the question, man. And guys, in the chat box, I appreciate you chiming in here. Got the 2 games locked and loaded here. Game 1 already off the slate now. The San Francisco Giants plus 220. Kind of going here, fading Clayton Kershaw. And in the second game, San Francisco Giants plus 170, backing Kevin Gosman to have a good trip here. So, yeah, Brett, good luck with that Toronto team total over 5.5 in that one. But I'm just sticking with the San Francisco Giants plus prices in both games today. So thanks for joining me, guys. And tomorrow, be back with you. Best of luck if you're tailing, and be safe out.